Good evening YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to my channel. Tonight I'm going to be doing a video reply for Anders, which is long overdue, mate, and I apologise for the time it's taken to do this one, but it's all about, is role-playing geeky? Effectively, I have to start the story quite some time ago. You have to go back into the annals of history, particularly in role-playing, particularly Dungeons & Dragons, and understand where it all started from and why. And without boring you, I'm going to try and quickly dissect that. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, there was a couple of deaths, a few deaths actually, that were considered to be the result of Dungeons & Dragons specifically. That was the game that was singled out for probably very undue press. Now, obviously, the church then got behind this, saying that the game was very demonic if you start examining it, looking at it. And I think if you just take a step back for a second and just put yourselves in the shoes of people from the 70s and 80s, whoever they may be, law enforcement people, people from the church, whoever, looking at that game without what I would describe as a gamer's eyes or a role player's eyes, yeah, you're going to assume, at that time period, you're going to assume that there's something very, very wrong with this game. You're encouraging people to kill, for God's sake. That's what it seems to be suggesting to those that do not understand our hobby. You're encouraging this worship of these strange gods. You know, you can imagine that. And although it's all very wrong, that's how it started. Now, once that hoo-ha had died down, and it took about 10 or so years, a lot of films started coming out that actually belittled the hobby and collectively began basically calling people that were associated with as geeks, loners, you know, individuals. You've seen the stigma. If you look at recent films, take Shrek the Third, there's a great caricaturing of two people sat around a little table with dice and figures, and they really ham up the braces and everything else in it. And it's only a small piece, 20 seconds, but it does a lot of damage for our hobby because, you know, it just doesn't help get us players or new recruits, does it? And the other thing as well, which we have to be honest with and take a step back and agree with really, is, you know, if you walked past a shop that, say, was a gaming shop and there were 6 grown men round a table with dice and figures, you'd probably wonder why and probably run the other way, to be honest, because you wouldn't give it a second thought. You wouldn't look, because appearance is everything. You know, it starts there. Appearance is important, unfortunately. And then you have the other aspect of this as well, is if it's the reverse, if it's a group of young adolescents, I mean, their behaviour is blamed with the game and so on and so on and so on. Potentially. I'm not saying that it's the case for everybody, but you get my point. The point is that there is a certain stigma attached to gaming, plus the way that it is, the way that it looks. We know, because we've all gone past the initial window, we know what lies underneath this game and what it can do for you as a DM, as a collective group of players, what it does. And that's the message that I want to really sell here with this video. Is gaming geeky? To those that are less fortunate that don't understand it, of course you're going to think it's geeky, you're not going to understand it. It took my wife 2 years to understand why I love the hobby. And it wasn't really until we had a couple of sessions here at our home, and she could hear the laughter and the players' enjoyment and listened in and really began to understand it. And she said, wow, you're a completely different person when you're around that table. It's as if it's a group of actors up there. I mean, everybody's really having a great time. It's a lot of fun. I can see why you do it. And it's only once you get past, and that's the problem with it. It takes time to find, you know, it's a Marmite game. I've said this many times before. No matter what version of RPG you play or do, or live acting, or whatever it is you do, it's a Marmite thing. You either love it or you hate it. Now, if you love it, it stays with you for the rest of your life. And there's no doubt I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for role-playing. Role-playing has done so much personal good for me. It has changed me in a way that you cannot quantify. Money cannot buy the difference it has made to me personally. And I know the difference it has made to the players that I've encountered along the way. Not all of them have made the journey. Many of them still stay in touch with me, even long after they've, you know, got families of their own and moved on. They still miss the game. And that's the best compliment sometimes you can get. And for those fortunate like ourselves who really understand the game and really, really get into them, I've said it before, it's the best book you can ever read and the best film you'll ever see, all rolled into one package. We're privileged, we're fortunate, we are the lucky ones, really, that really understand this hobby. You wouldn't call Spielberg a geek because he wrote E.T. You've got to see beyond the fact that it's a kids' film and realise the genius of it. You've got to realise when people put films on, take Cameron's new film, Avatar. I mean, you can see the inspiration in the film, but there's a lot of films that take that ownership from role-play games. If you look at Avatar, it's very, very, very similar to some of the role-play games seen before, and there's a reason, because these great directors draw on what is a great resource, and that is Dungeons and Dragons, or role-playing in general, or sci-fi games. Babylon 5 would never have existed as a series if it wasn't for role-playing. There's no doubt that these things are inspired by what we do. And it's really our job, it's our mission really. And that is why I do what I do. I want to give something back, and I find the YouTube medium one of the great ways to give it back, because we are sowing the seeds for the people that follow after us. I want to be remembered for the things I've done in terms of my role playing. I want to be remembered. I want my memory to live long after I've gone in terms of the things I've done for my players. Heck, who knows? Even the videos may stand the test of time long after I've disappeared off the scene. Maybe they won't. Maybe some young kid comes along who's far better than I and develops a great series of videos that takes this off into a whole new generation. Perhaps somebody comes along and develops a whole new way of approach to this hobby. You know what? That's fantastic. Nobody wants to run the baton themselves the entire distance. None of the greats do. None of the DMs now do. And if you look around what we've got here on this RPG community, this isn't geeky. This is a group, a collective group of people, like-minded souls, who, without a shadow of a doubt, want to help others. Where could you find that elsewhere? You look at modern-day sport, and I love sport. I'm a great sport fan, and a sport that I would enjoy probably would surprise a lot of people. I'm a big American football fan. It's violent, rough, tough, and everything else, but it can be a very individual sport. Our game is collective, it's unique, because we're actually encouraging team play. It's a game that should be, without a shadow of a doubt, openly produced for the masses. And it's a shame it's never reached a bigger audience than it has. It's not been TV driven. There's wonderful, if you examine some of the videos that these guys out on YouTube do, myself included in this, and really look at the content of a lot of the stuff that's put out there. There are people that write a PhD based on some of this stuff. It's so deep, so comprehensive, so unique in its approach, very dissecting. You know, you've got people who are collectively very, very good writers here. Whatever their walk of life, whatever their standards, it's interesting when you really have been around the hobby a number of years. I found that there's a lot of, I find the great challenge is a lot of the people that come to my table, they're very intelligent people. And I feel, wow, you know, I've got to put on a show here. You know, I've really got to give these guys something pretty special, because I don't want to be seen to be the bozo. You know, it's that classic poker thing, isn't it? If you can't spot the patsy, it's probably you. And it's a horrible thing, but it's a brilliant thing nevertheless. And what I'm really saying here, without wittering on for too much further, is simply this. This hobby gives so much and asks so little. And for anybody that sees this video that might be wavering about, should I give role-playing a chance? I hope you do. And I hope you look beyond the facade of the initial, just get beyond to the outside. She's an ugly mistress, RPG. But if you just can get beyond the front door, trust me, what lies beyond is a mass of riches. And there is nothing better. And really, that's all I can say. I hope that, you know, as I say, when people look back in time on what we have achieved as a little community, and what all of us have done as DMs to our players over years, I hope you have the same success I have had, the same memories, and the same fun that still I get from this great hobby. Some nearly 30 years in. And that's the thing that I most take out of it. Do I want to be role-playing when I'm old? Yes. Do I want to be the grey-haired old wizard? You bet I bloody do. I want to continue on till I can do it no longer. The reality is that I wouldn't do it unless I was enjoying it. And for doing it for so many years and still enjoying it says an awful lot to me. And I hope it does you too. Anyway, I've been Outsiders. This has been my reply to Anders' video about role-playing being geeky. I hope it's helped. I hope it's illustrated some of the history. But above all else, for any that are new to this hobby, not the converted, because you already are here, but anybody new, give it a chance, give it a shot, find a local DM. And who knows, maybe you might be making some videos here on YouTube and challenging us with some unique, conventional, some unique, unusual, conventional wisdom that you might bring to the table. I really hope that we do see you soon. Anyway, I've been Sean Connors. This has been Outsiders. Till the next time, take care of yourself and happy gaming. Bye-bye.